Hello, welcome to my channel, Paint with Terry. Thanks for watching. So this is a follow-up of the canvas prep that we did. We're going to be doing a painting. It's going to be a few little mountains there in the background. It's going to be a landscape and a seascape. So the first color that we've got on there was we've got some red purple, and then we've got some phthalo blue, and then we've got we've got red purple, and then we've got dioxazine purple, and then phthalo blue. And then we've used some ultramarine blue in around here, and we use some light sienna color down here. And this is on a black canvas that we've prepped with some liquid clear prior to painting. The first color you're going to want to use is some of your titanium white on a fan brush. And this is my method for getting like a really nice looking background in the sky and stuff. So we can just kind of start here. We're just going to kind of swirl it out like that. Do a little swirl there. And that's really all you're doing, is just getting that paint off of the brush. And that white color is what's going to give us some, like our sky, the light that we need. Now that we've got that on there, you can see our brush is completely covered now, which is okay. It's not that important for the next part that we're doing. We're going to be doing the ultramarine blue. And that purple will just kind of accent in there, and you hardly know that it's there. We're just going to come up here right along the edge of the blue and just kind of scratch in a little bit of color. Get a little bit more titanium white on the tip if you need. And then you just want to start up along that edge. Just kind of scratching in some of that white. Once we've got that like that, we can come down here and we're going to do that light sienna color. Same thing for that part. We don't really need to clean the brush. We're just going to get some of our titanium white, because all we're doing right now is just lightening up some of the color that's on there. So we just want to start at that top, and we're going to be just kind of pulling down from that top edge. Doesn't have to be perfect. You're just trying to get some color on there in spots. We're going to be blending it out anyway, so. Now that we've got our color on there, our titanium white I should say, we can grab a blending brush, or I like to just use this as an acrylic brush, but it's, I don't know, it works good. Like the acrylic, the soft bristle works good for blending. So all we're going to do is we'll start up in this top area, and we're just going to be going back and forth with the brush on an angle. You just want to lightly sweep over those spots where the white is. Not overdoing it, but just softening the paint essentially. Now that we got a bit of extra light on that sky, we're just going to move down here and do the same thing with the water. It's always better to just start with a little, and then you can add on to it if you need it a little lighter, rather than completely overdo it, right? So. And with that color, or with that amount of white, why you don't want to add too much is because I feel that that's good enough for that. We'll add a little extra to the sky to brighten it up. I'm just going to move down here though to the sienna color. And we're going to be doing the same thing, just lightly brushing across it. And really you're just kind of going back and forth, trying to add some color onto the ground and get rid of a lot of that brush mark that you put on. Now that we've got that blended in how we want, like I say, we're going to maybe add a little bit more titanium white to the sky, just to get a little extra color in there and brighten it up a little bit. We're going to be adding some other effects as well. We're going to maybe do like a Milky Way effect coming off behind the mountains. But we're just going to get some color in there. That's really all we're doing, is just swirling the fan brush. That should be good enough for the brightness of the sky. We're just going to get our brush and we're lightly fan across this again. And having the different tones of color, it just adds depth. It's almost as if there's like different clouds and whatnot going on there. Just adds to make a really nice looking sky in the end. once we got out most of the hard lines, lightly soften it. I'm going to give it a nice blending. And I mean, you don't got to use a 24 by 36 canvas, a little large for most paintings. But this is one that someone wanted done, so. Oh, we've got a little color in there. We've got the color on our water. We've got the color on our land. We're going to get some of our titanium white, and you can use a fan brush or a toothbrush that you've made like just for this purpose. You can use it just for this purpose, and it works really good to just add a little bit of stars and stuff on the sky. So all you need is some of your titanium white, and you can get a little bit of your thinner on your brush, not too much, just a little bit on the ends, and you just mix it around in the titanium white, give it a good blend. And I should say it is important to have enough titanium white and paint there, and you don't want to, like I say, you don't want to have too much thinner on there. The thinner will make it too watery, and that's just gonna not work for you. Kind of make a mess of the canvas. And you can even test it a little bit on the area that you're mixing. Once you got that mixed up, you want to kind of stop it from going down there. It's not huge if it does, but just kind of spatter in, little bits of clusters of stars, and it doesn't have to be, you don't want too much on there. You just have these little clusters and whatnot. That should be good enough. Then we just take the brush that we were using for blending. We're going to lightly hit across that water, get rid of all those spatter marks that we just put on. Kind of inevitable. We'll get in spots and kind of goes everywhere. You should be careful of that. I always put up like a back cloth, or we have stuff on the ground as well, just to stop anything from getting on the floors and creating a huge mess. You got all the water, spatter marks off the water. You just lightly hit the light sienna color, which is our land. And then lastly, like I was saying, you don't even need to clean the brush for this because you're just lightly tapping across the canvas. You just want to hit that bottom where you put the red purple color, and that's going to help get rid of the stars that are a little down there close to the water. We don't need them quite that down. Need them more along that top edge. Excuse me. So now that that's in there, I'm just going to take a filbert brush, or a liner brush will work too. For me finding any of them right this moment. We're just going to use this liner brush that we have laying around. We're going to take some of our black mix, and to make that we just took some of our dark brown color. Well, it's not too dark, but a brown. We took a little of our phthalo blue, and we took some crimson red that isn't here. This is the red purple color, and we just mixed a little bit in there, just so it's not a complete black color. We're going to start somewhere right in around here. And just kind of do these little zigzag motions going down. There's a few different ways that we can do these mountains. We could use a palette scraper, works as well. These are just the shadow color. So kind of when we're doing it, it's kind of important to have a nice clean crisp edge. And just do the same thing. We're just doing these little zigzag motions and up and down, creating little ridges at the edge here. Now we just going to take that paint that we have on the edge, help pull it down a little bit, just to where the ultramarine blue is. And we could use a little bit of a bigger brush for this part, but the one that I'm using right now, so I might as well just use it. Like I say, you're just pulling that down until I get to the ultramarine blue that we put there. And so now that we have that one mountain in there, this will be the time where we're going to start right about here, and we'll add in a little bit of a Milky Way effect. And so to do that, we're just going to take a clean fan brush. And this isn't the acrylic bristle fan brush, this is a hog hair fan brush. So it's a little bit more of a stiffer bristle. And we're just going to come in right about here. We're just going to start dabbing in a little bit of that white. And like I say, the canvas is a little bit bigger on this one. So we're just going to make sure we hit the top edge as well. And it should be a little smaller down here, and as we get out, it'll get a little wider, as you can see. Once we have that, we don't need to put too much on there. We're going to start the other side. And the same thing, we're just going to come in. We're going to kind of bring it down back up just so it's not all the same. Same thing over here, we just add a little bit out here from the edge. We're just softening the paint down a little bit is all. Now that we've got the titanium white on there, I've got this acrylic bristle. It's really long bristled, so it makes the bristles really soft. I'm just going to lightly fan along that bottom edge. And you're just doing these little circular motions. I'll just come up and hit that top edge. What we're doing is just softening the paint around the edge here. And then we can go up, touch up any of the top. And we're just going to come in this center area, do the same thing, lightly hitting the edge. And I like to do these little circular motions because it just helps blend the paint nice. Now that it's like that, just lightly hit basically just hitting where the Milky Way is and lightly softening everything. Now that you got it like that, that'll be good enough for putting in our next mountain area. Just get our liner brush again. Get some of that black on there. And get it in about here. Not quite as tall as the other mountain, but just going to come in. Same thing, just doing these little zigzag motions out. Grab some of that more heavily deposited paint from the edge. We're just going to help pull it down some. More same thing, we're just going to pull it down just till it hits that ultramarine blue. So we have a few little mountains over, or a couple little mountains over there. And we'll just add this distant area of mountain. It's just going to have a few little distant looking mountain things in the background here coming off the side. We're just going to mix up a little bit of titanium white into the black mix that we have, just so it creates like a gray color, but not too light. We'll just start in here somewhere around lower in that mountain. We're just going to create these little mountainous areas up and down. Just something like that's going to be good enough. We're just going to get some of our dark brown, mix it with a little bit of our titanium white. We're just going to be coming in here along that edge. Not too far out, but maybe about to there. This is going to be another distant little chunk of land. Just want to feather that out to the edge. So now that we got it like that, we can use our liner brush. Just get a little bit of titanium white on there. We don't need very much. We just need something that's going to show up a little better than that black. So we'll start up at the peak and just kind of create this little zigzag motion coming down. The reason that we do this is just gives you as viewers a better idea of where you should maybe put your highlights. We just have a few little zigzag motions coming down off of the mountain here. Now we can get the colors that we're going to use to fill in the mountain. And for that, you just want to use some of your titanium white. And then you can take some phthalo blue and just a very light amount add to your titanium white and create just two different shades of blue, one a little darker than the other. And we get our palette scraper. We just want to start with the dark color first. And I guess over here will be our bright area, so the light will be hitting off the mountains this way. So we use our dark color. We just want to go on the edge of that little jagged line. We're just kind of depositing the paint on there at this step. We'll do the same thing for this little jagged line. I think we had one up here. And we just grab that paint and pull down. You don't want to lightly pull down on it. Like, you don't want to really be grabbing the canvas too hard. Like, once we got that, let's do the same thing. We're going to hit these spots here. We're just kind of depositing a little bit of paint across the whole mountain, some of that darker blue, but we know that our lines are there. And we're going to do the same thing on this one. Get the paint on there on that edge where you know you're going to want it. Same thing. Get a little bit more for the edge over here. Put a bit up in here. We just have these little areas there. Now we're going to take some of our our light color, our lighter blue mix. We're going to do the same thing, but on this side of the ridge. And we're just going to do the same thing for this other one. Right now we're just getting a little bit of the color on there. We can pop in some highlights in a minute. Now that we got those little distant areas, we're going to kind of grab some of that light blue that we have. We're just going to deposit these little areas. Now we just got those in there. To fix up that bottom edge, we just grab our brush, lightly pull across the bottom of the ridge here. Now we're just going to come in with some of our, well, with our fan brush. We'll get some of our titanium white. We're going to pop in a couple spots on the water here, just along this back area. Come up in here. And we've got a few extra highlighted areas in there. Use that same fan brush. Just highlight a couple areas in and around here. All we're doing is just highlighting some of that dirt area. Just in certain areas. Have a little spot down in here. Get the rest of that titanium white off our brush. Now that we've got those spots highlighted, I'm just going to grab our brush, really soften it. We're just lightly sweeping across the paint, giving it a nice blend, spreading it out a bit. So we have a nice little blend of different colors on the ground there. We can start adding a little bit of our bush area that we're going to be doing, and the trees and whatnot. And for our distant bush, we can just take some of our Viridian green that we have. And we don't need to darken it or anything. We're just going to get a little bit on a brush. Just come up in here and just start dabbing in some areas. And you only want to bring it down to that part of the land that you put on. You don't want to use too much paint for this step. You're just trying to get the dark area, like a shadowed area of where some bushes should be. Once you get that top edge done, you can just grab your brush and spread it out. So we got that top edge very distantly looking like some dark bush back there. We need a little bit of that dark so we can make little areas look a little more highlighted than others. We're going to be doing the same thing in some other areas, so we might as well. I got this 1-inch brush that I'm going to use, and that's just going to help make some bigger bushes up close. And just kind of come in here in this area. And all we're doing is mixing this Viridian green with the color that's already on the canvas as well. And we'll get a little bit more on there. Like the mountains, it's kind of the edge that is going to be important in these areas. Once you get that in there, you can kind of just get some of that green and just help blend it in. That's going to be one bush area. We have our distant bush area. We're going to add another little bushy area in and around here. Some trees and whatnot. We're just going to get our little bush area in here first. Then you can make your bushes however you want, wherever you'd like. A little bit more of that radiant green. Like I say, on this canvas, it's a little bit like a bit thicker than some canvases, so you just want to dab in some of that green on the edge and wrap the bush right around. And all I'm doing is just grabbing some of that paint and lightly going on the outside of it. The bush area that we made. Just add some of these little areas that are not quite as dark. So we got these two little bushes. We get a liner brush. We're going to take some of our dark brown. We're going to make it a little bit more dark with some of our black. Just mixing it up a little bit. Now we got our dark brown. We can decide where we want some trees to sit. Maybe we'll have a little tree out here in the distance. And we can decide what kind of trees, if we're going to put branches on them. This one, we'll maybe add some branches to it, and down here we can put a little evergreen. Pull that tip up a little bit more. Doesn't have to be completely perfect for this step. Right now we're just kind of getting in where we want the trees to be. We have that one there. We could add a bigger tree right in this area. Can even give it a little weird thing growing off the side here. Have that tree in there. And then maybe we'll do another little evergreen tree over here. Now that we got the bases of our tree where we want them, We can get a smaller liner brush. It's going to help us with some of the branches. And maybe we'll just have a branch coming in here. This one, we're going to bring in an upward motion and then over. Just going to mix a little bit more black in with our dark brown. Not too much, just a little extra. Make it a little bit darker. And same thing, this one here, we can just kind of pull in, swoop over. And give us the impression of there's different branches and different angles, and some on the front and sides. And you can get some of these longer branches. Yeah, we have a couple branches on that one. We're also going to do a few branches over here. And just give this a little bit more of a top. One more big branch. I have a couple branches on that one down there. We'll be able to get some of our Viridian green, and we're just going to start adding a little bit of shadow color with we can use a couple different brushes for the evergreens. We're going to use a fan brush, and then for the other types of trees we'll just use just a regular little 1/2 inch brush. So we'll start with the distant trees first, the distant little bush area. We're just going to get some of our yellow orch on the brush that we were just using with that Viridian green. We don't need to clean the brush off, we can just kind of mix it up. And we have a little mix of our Viridian, our sap green, or no, sorry, it is Viridian green that we had on the brush, and we just mixed it up with a bit of our yellow orch. We're just going to pop in a few random little spots. We don't have to do we're not filling in the whole area with the color. We're just kind of popping in a few different random areas. Just so when we have some other colors on there, we have a variety of color in our distant bush. Now we're going to be getting in a little bit more of our yellow orange color. It's not going to be quite as mixed with our Viridian green. And pop in a few little spots, be darker than the others. Now that we got that in there, just going to make a completely different color by taking that yellow orange. And we can mix it in with that Viridian green just a tiny little bit. And then we'll have another green color. What we're doing is just pop in a few little spots. Now we have a little bit of that color in there. And just get a little bit of our lemon yellow. And we're going to keep a little bit of that green on our brush. You just want to get a bit of that lemon yellow color in there. And that's going to make a whole nother color of green, just a lot lighter. We're just going to take a little bit of that lighter green and just pop in a few random spots. I'm going to just take some of that yellow orange. Just pop in a few little areas. And really that's all we're going to need. But we could just pop in a few other little highlights of just use some of that lemon yellow. and make a really highlighted version of the green. And we're just going to come in and lightly touch in some areas. That'll break up some of the color there. Now that we got a couple different colors in there, we're just going to take our liner brush. We'll use the bigger liner brush first, just so we can get the land a little more established. Now we have a distant little area there. Just get our thinner liner brush, some of that dark brown. We can just kind of imagine where these little areas would live with their branches and whatnot. That's all we're doing, is just adding in a couple little lines and some spots. Little squiggly lines. What that does is just going to help give the impression that there's some like branches, and you can see the base of the tree in some areas. And that's pretty good. Once you got an area there that looks like some distant bush, all you need. Now we can use our fan brush, and we're just gonna do that little evergreen that's there. So that will take some of our sap green